Guys, welcome back. We are in our third video on this series on abortion and really what's the Christian perspective, worldview, and arguments for pro-life and against abortion. But we're going to get into apologetics on this one. Really, we're going to get into what is the cultural conversation, what are the most common objections that Christians need to be prepared to deal with. Before we actually get into some of those, I would love for you to share about, this is part of what your ministry helps churches and equips them to do.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite part of our ministry. I'm an apologetics nerd.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. And churches that'll have us, we come in and we actually teach apologetics seminars. And we don't just do what some apologists do, where it's like if they say X, you say Y.
Yeah.
And there's just a bunch of memorized one-liners. We actually teach the mechanics of apologetics. So you may learn that under an abortion context.
Right.
But if you understand the mechanics, you could take abortion out. You could put LGBTQ in. You could take that and put evolution in.
Yep.
So we're big on teaching how to control the conversation as you stand firmly on the Word of God. So yeah, the churches out there, we love to come train that average Sunday morning believer on how do you have these really hard conversations that represent your faith well.
I think it's fantastic. And I think it's needed because I think in our culture, this is going to be probably for the rest of our lifetimes, an ongoing conversation.
Absolutely.
So here's something that we'll hear in the culture. I want to get, responses from you guys. One of the things that you'll hear is, well, listen, these mothers can't afford to have a baby. They can't, the reason they should be able to have an abortion is, are you going to provide for them what they need? Are you going to give them the care that they have? And in their mind, that is a justification for ending abortion. So it's a financial issue. How do you answer that?
Well, I first just say, yes, we will. That's part of what we do. I will gladly help that mother with anything she needs. We'll throw her a baby shower so big she's going to have to rent a U-Haul to get it to her place.
Yeah.
But beyond that, when they really want to push, what they're saying is, and this is part about learning the mechanics of apologetics and learning how to dig past. How do you dig past the initial layer of an argument? Mm-hmm. Because there's so much more there. When someone makes but they're going to be born into poverty argument, what they're essentially saying is, well, someone born without enough money or someone born not in the right socioeconomic class, they don't deserve a chance at human life.
Right.
So essentially, if you really boil that argument down, it's
let's kill poor people.
It's let's kill the poor kids.
Yeah.
And they don't like it when you push back, but that's part of being a good apologist is you have to push back against illogical arguments with logical arguments.
One of the questions that you'll get is, we're talking about, a fetus this big,
Right.
So, this isn't a baby. This isn't a full-term kid. We're talking about an early stage pregnancy. Why does that argument not work?
Because where do you draw the line? If you're going to choose size as your argument, then what size is no longer appropriate to terminate it?
Yeah.
And who decides that? It's the same thing with that. If you're going to terminate, because they're poor, well, who's the arbiter of that? Are you the judge of that? Because then you become God. If you're the one who decides, okay, once they get to this point, we can't kill them anymore.
Yeah, this size makes you a human.
Yeah. Based on what?
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes very arbitrary at that point.
Arbitrary, and you're God.
Yeah. Another thing that you'll hear people say is, some states, New York City, remember they stood up and cheered in the chambers of their House of Congress over this. You can literally abort up to the moment of birth.
Long as there's a foot still in the birth canal.
So why is it that they think, that's still, in their mind's eye, that's still not a person? They would say, out of the womb, can't kill them. What's underneath that argument? What's underneath, show us the hole in that.
So, quick side note, my daughter was born the day they signed that bill. So I sat in Summit Hospital, went down to the cafeteria to get something to eat. And while I'm eating, celebrating the birth of my daughter, I'm watching these wicked, evil politicians high-five
standing
each
ovation,
other for the fact that 2 hours ago, if I wanted to, I could have killed my daughter.
Yeah.
To make it real.
Yeah.
But that argument, once again, like Brandon was pointing, it goes back to an arbitrary standard, which shouldn't shock us when we're talking about unbelievers. We believe in objective truth, objective standards, they don't believe in objective truth. So the fact that they would lean on some type of arbitrary, whether you want to, it really couldn't even use the word standard, but if you wanted to use some arbitrary guideline on when it's okay to kill a baby, we really shouldn't be shocked by that.
Right.
But to answer the fool according to their folly, then you would have to ask them, are you tying this to the location? Because if it's the location, what you're telling me is if I stood right here, you can't kill me.
Right.
But man, if I messed up and stood right here, you can.
And it would be
legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's not location, then it's size.
Right.
Well, if it's not size, then it's level of development.
That's right.
All right. He's already answered, Brandon answered beautifully the size argument. So let's say it is level of development. Well, I hate to burst anybody's bubble. If you take a 6-month-old child and you leave them in your house alone for 3 days, you're not going to have a pretty sight when you come back home. Even though they have reached a point of development, they can live outside the womb with no problem.
Yeah.
They're still completely dependent on their mother and father for nutrition.
That's right.
For protection.
That's right.
So the size, the location, the level of development, all those arguments fall completely apart when you actually push back on their illogical arguments.
What about the my body, my choice?
Well, I had a woman tell me this in front of Planned Parenthood last week. She's screaming at me, my body, my choice. And I just looked at her simply and said, ma'am, what you're telling me is then you have 2 heads, you've got 2 hearts, you've got 4 arms, you've got 2 different sets of unique human DNA. In what consistent scientific world do you live in where you're not some type of mutant creature?
Right.
And they don't want to answer.
If you were
that.
pregnant, if you're a woman pregnant with twin boys, you would have to say that you're 2/3 male.
Yeah. It just and this is just something I'd encourage anybody on. Learn how to push back on illogical arguments. We give these people a pass. We want to go along to get along, and when we say nothing, that is our silent endorsement. Of you telling this other person, yes, your crazy talk is real.
Well, and my body, my choice is, they don't even really mean it. COVID revealed that.
That's right.
When they told us that we had to wear masks everywhere, otherwise you didn't love me.
And you don't have a choice,
You don't have a choice over it. Well, what about my body, my choice?
Yeah,
You know,
that
it came down to that with the vaccines.
and if it really is my body, my choice, well, this is part of my body. And if it's my choice to hit you in the head and take your phone,
still my body, my choice.
It's my body, my choice. Who are you to tell me?
Well, you can't
I can do with
you
this?
can't harm me with your body. Well, but that's what we're doing with
Thank you
abortion.
for the pro-life argument.
That's right. That's right.
I think what it revealed is people want to have sex without consequences. That's what it really boils down to. As I want to be able to do whatever I want, and you can't tell me what to do.
92% of abortions are elective abortions, which means I am doing this because it will be a convenience. And usually it's to escape responsibilities.
So we showed it. It's not about science. You know, it's not about physical. It's not about bodily autonomy. Meaning it's my body. It's I want to be able to live whatever kind of lifestyle without consequences, and you can't tell me otherwise.
What I want to do in our next video is I want to get into some of these instances where it's not just convenience. Right. Let's talk about rape, incest. Right. We'll get into some other issues, but also the post-Roe world that we're in now. What does this look like for Christians and for churches? That'll be the subject of our next video.